All right, thank you, Dan. Welcome, everyone. Thursday, April 18th, 2019, 34 degrees outside. It is 6 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. Good morning, Shane. How you
Good
doing?
morning. Good morning, Mayor. It's another day. I trust there's absolutely no snow in your future.
There's no snow in our future, but we've got rain coming sometime along the line. But other than that, it's pretty nice here. We've had some pretty good days. Snow's leaving, and well, we're trying to get into spring a little bit. We're trying to get into the spring feel, the warm weather coming and stuff like that. So a quick look at our weather today. 59 degrees is going to be our high, mostly sunny all day long, and the same tomorrow with a high of 66 and an overnight low of 43 tomorrow. Mostly sunny again. And then Saturday, rain's going to move in the early morning hours. 50 will be the high, 36 the overnight low. We're looking for about maybe a third of an inch of moisture, but not too bad. And then a little drop in temperature on Sunday, 46 degrees, overnight low right at freezing, and we could have rain or snow depending on where you are and what your elevation is and all of that stuff. And then Monday, we warm up again, 54 and partly cloudy, no chance of precip there. And Tuesday, 60, and Wednesday, 66, and no rain in the forecast there. So just over the weekend, as it usually is, Saturday and Sunday rain. So enjoy that and get out and spend some money around Bozeman and have a good time and, whatever. So.
Well, the whatever is including, biking and jogging and you got to use all those bike zones you've got now, right?
Well, that's true. We've got so many of them. We've got so many of those, That's, Well, today was a big day in history, Shane. 1775, Paul Revere.
I love this story. This is a great American story. He was a famous silversmith and engraver in Boston and, very successful industrialist at the time. Mm-hmm. He printed money for several states during the Revolutionary War. Let's see, December 1st, 1735 to May 10th, 1818. So he had a pretty good, prosperous life. Mm-hmm. But what he was remembered for, was his midnight ride. I mean, what a story! I mean, it's almost classical, and made famous it was made famous 100 years after it by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poem. Yep. Paul Revere's Ride in 1861, published in 1863. Yeah. And as we all know, he warned the colonists that the British forces were approaching Lexington and Concord. Lexington, of course, was the home for Hancock and a couple of other major players in the Revolution. Of course, wouldn't have probably survived without Hancock. We know how important he was to the Continental Convention. But the famous line, that he was the one who set up this warning system in the North Church. There was to be hung one lantern by sea, two if by one lantern by land and two if by sea. And the British did come by sea, and two lanterns were hung in the church tower. And so he took off, and my goodness, there were 40 riders by the end of the evening, and they warned all the western and eastern and northern villages around Lexington and Concord, and that's where the first shot was heard around the world. So it was the beginning of everything you have today.
There you go. One if by land, two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be.
That's right.
How do you like that? Huh? The benefit of a classical education, huh?
There you go. A really classical one.
Well, the other thing that happened today, let's see, major earthquake struck San Francisco, set off raging fires. 3,000 people died in that 1906 earthquake. Was a pretty big deal back in that time, because we didn't have the codes for earthquake prevention or whatever. Everything was kind of built with wood and nails and whatever. It just didn't hold up very well to to all that shaking. So it's pretty good.
And the big standout on that story historically was Wells Fargo, and the fellow that started Wells Fargo stood his ground and lent people money right in the middle of the street at a table, so people could try and get their lives started again. And they Wells Fargo was rewarded for that. They became one of the largest banks on the West Coast, and they're one of the big seven today.
Yeah. Well, and of course they've been under fire for the past 2 years for
all those interesting
signing you up for credit cards, signing you up for various services that you don't need or didn't ask for to meet guidelines or meet goals of the company. So, yeah, they've their CEO, I think, just recently resigned, didn't he, or stepped down
finally,
or whatever. Yeah, finally,
years,
yeah. After ain't anything wrong, we're just trying to make some money. What's the deal?
Yeah. Now, the other big thing that happened today was April 18th, 1942. Now, April 18th, before I tell you about this, put it in context, December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor was attacked.
Right.
So January, February, March. So this is 4.5 months after Pearl Harbor. So it's the famous Doolittle raid.
Yep.
Colonel Doolittle was asked to put together Lieutenant Colonel Doolittle. He was in the United States Army Air Force, and he was asked to put together a group of men to fly B-25 Mitchell medium bombers, and 16 of them, and they were going to be launched off the deck of the U.S. Hornet, CV-8, of course, deep in the Western Pacific, and flew over Japan and bombed Tokyo, folks. This is an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah. At that time, it certainly was, yeah.
It was. Roosevelt, over Christmas and New Year's, was rallying the Department of Defense and all the armed forces, give me something. And they had these ideas about submarine attacks. And anyway, the long story short, this was it, and it was successful. They didn't do a lot of damage, but they did kill some people, and it started the heck out of the Japanese, of course, because how could they possibly build or bomb the homeland? The planes ended up mostly into the sea between Japan and China. Some made it to China, and of the crew members, 77 initially survived the mission. So. Eight airmen were captured by the Japanese army in China, unfortunately.
Damn.
And 3 were later executed. But amazing feat of American ingenuity and sheer braveness, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hats off to those gentlemen.
There you go. Well, we skipped over 1923. The first baseball game was played at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, with the New York beating the Boston Red Sox 4-1, and that, of course, Yankee Stadium at that time was known as the house that Ruth built.
Yes, indeed.
And I think it's really interesting that they beat the Red Sox, where the Ruth eventually ended up being traded to.
That's right.
And they had the Boston jinx for 100 years before Boston could win a World Series again for that for the Yankees trading him to the Red Sox. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's one of those stories of baseball that everyone loves, but it's a game of numbers.
That's for sure. So, first game played in Yankee Stadium. Of course, it's no longer there. They tore it down and built a new one. And right. There you are. Let's see, 1946, another big day or a big deal going on at the time. The League of Nations went out of business and I guess replaced by the United Nations, and we've been going downhill ever since. A lot of people probably think the United Nations should go out of business too, or at least leave New York and go somewhere else.
Your great President Woodrow Wilson, the predominant liberal, started the League of Nations on the 10th of January 1920, and they did hold a lot of promise after World War I with the Paris Peace Conferences from the First World War. But of course, their great success was dividing up all the land of the Ottoman Empire. Yeah. That now results in all the countries in the Middle East, in Eurasia, where Israel is, and across the North Africa. That was all part of the Ottoman Empire, or Turkey. They didn't really accomplish much of anything else after that. They didn't stop any wars. Haile Selassie addressed them and asked them and pleaded them for help because of what was happening in his country with the Italians didn't work. The Spanish tried to go to this League of Nations about the Civil War there. And they couldn't help them.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's anything that will be missed other than it won't be missed in history books because it didn't succeed, I guess.
Well, I'd heard that FDR had yelled that to Woodrow Wilson from his shower. He let's call it the League of Nations. Woodrow, what do you think?
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it at all.
His name was probably Woody. What do you think, Woody?
Ooh. You're getting close to a famous director of Hollywood there.
Yeah, I know. All right. In 1949, the Irish Republic was proclaimed, and of course that led to a lot of conflict in that area over the years.
It's an interesting thing because the United Kingdom, as we know it today, it came into effect in 1707. Now, that's like less than 75 years when the American Revolution started. So this was another part of England that separated and wanted to become its own republic. Northern Ireland, of course, on the main island, stayed part of Britain. And but it resulted in an Irish Civil War. And, it was, which covered a period from 1919 to 1923. And then on until the 80s when they finally resolved that issue with a peace treaty. And it's never been a great situation because of the political or the religious separation of the Protestants and the Irish. That's gone back 100 years. I mean, that's just a long time story in the United Kingdom. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, let's see what else happened today. Well, let's take a break because we actually have commercials today, believe it or not. I haven't pushed the button yet, but I'm pretty sure we have commercials today. Unfortunately, we still don't have Montana News and Agriculture. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I think they're a little leery about sending us stuff from other outside computer systems still yet. So we're waiting for that. So anyway, let's see if we can get some local folks on here and tell you about their great products. We'll be right back. 20 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Thursday, April 18th, 2019, 34 degrees outside. Shane Matabin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. And you're on the KMMS Morning Soapbox. And we're doing the day in history. 1955 on this date, physicist Albert Einstein died at the age of 76. What a guy this guy was, I'll tell you. He was all over the place.
Yes, he was. And the remarkable thing about it is with the human existence is that so often men like this come along and have such a huge impact. And it seems to be like, every other century or, several during a century. Certainly in the last century, the 20th century, there were several. But he was the most spectacular because of his noted variety with certain things. And theory of relativity, of course, was the greatest. And quantum mechanics, now they claim, has been proven by this incredible view of a black hole.
Yeah.
And we've all seen it, hopefully. And, it's an amazing reality because this came about because of this great story. So it's the Hubble Wide Field Ground-Based View. So you want to Google Hubble Wide Field Ground-Based View. It happened in 2007, and it took a scientist 4 years to convince NASA to let him use the Hubble telescope for 1 week and point it at deep, dark space where there are no stars, just deep, dark space. It took him years to convince him to do it. Finally, they'd gone through all these other studies, and they said, okay, why don't you do this? So he did it, and when the computer started kicking out all the pictures, it showed endless universes, not solar systems, but universes, and in the size of a straw. A McDonald's straw. You know how big that is, like that.
Yeah,
like a pencil head, and there were billions of universes in it.
Wow!
And for the first time, scientists realized the extent and how large, space was and what was out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great story. That's where they found the black hole, which, by the way, occurred 50 million years ago. So it's already absorbed. It's already sucked up the universe that we see it in. Right.
Right. Yeah.
They're gone.
That's I'm gonna say that's our future. Yellowstone blowing up, or we'll be sucked into a black hole. That's our our universe, or that's our future, I guess. So, I don't know, but
real science and far more likely than 12 years from now.
Yeah, actually, when I was in San Diego, I was working in video, and I was invited over to a guy's house to help set up some video stuff for him. And he had worked with Einstein, and in fact, I had several signed books by Einstein, and was showing me all this memorabilia he had of Einstein. It was pretty impressive.
It would be.
Yeah, quite a deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
1956, actress Grace Kelly married Prince Rainier of Monaco, and gave up a promising acting career, and later killed in a car crash, unfortunately. Beautiful woman, obviously. Yeah.
And a great story there as well. The family comes from the French royalty, and were awarded the principality. The agreement between France and Monaco is son must be born to be able to be taken to take over the kingdom.
Right. Yeah.
Well, as the prince, so it can't survive a daughter. Great tax haven. One of the it's like the Vatican, this small little spot on the side of the Mediterranean, and and they have a beautiful harbor there with people with their boats. Boating in Europe is big because of all the industrial complexes over there and wealthy people, that own industries, and they all have boats. They're big on boats over there, and they like their boats in the Mediterranean. So if you ever get a chance, you want to drive along the southern coast of France, from Saint-Tropez to Monte Carlo. What a great adventure that is. It's a loving experience.
Yeah. Well, in 1978, on this date, the U.S. Senate approved the Panama Canal Treaty, providing for the complete turnover of control of the waterway to Panama on the last day of 1999. And that a lot of people were upset about that, although I don't think there's many ships that'll fit through the Panama Canal. None of the big tankers can go through it, or any of those ships. But they've doctored up. Or have they made it bigger? Have they made it wider?
Well, but the problem are the locks. The locks are
That's
standardized.
What I'm saying.
You're right. The super tankers cannot, but they move rather fast, and they,
well, they can go around South America pretty quickly, I guess, if they have to, but whatever. And let's see, 1983, a suicide bomber killed 63 people, including 17 Americans, at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, Lebanon. And Omar Gaddafi felt the wrath of Ronald Reagan following that little skirmish there.
Yeah, and he gave up all of his supposed weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, he did, 1989, thousands of Chinese students demanding democracy tried to storm Communist Party headquarters in Beijing, and I think we all remember that famous picture of the one lone Japanese guy with a row of tanks in front of him.
Walking home from the store with a white plastic bag in his hand and standing in front of the tank and challenging it. It was a regrettable effort by the students to change the government, but
didn't work.
Didn't work.
No, didn't work.
We got to go.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close. Close. Okay. Yeah. We got 2 minutes. 29.
Okay.
1999, Wayne Gretzky, the National Hockey League all-time leading scorer, played his last professional game at Madison Square Garden. Quite a hockey guy there, probably the greatest ever, I would say.
We
arguably.
call him the great one. Yeah, we do.
Arguably. 2004, Spanish Prime Minister Jose Luis Rodriguez Zapata ordered a withdrawal of Spanish troops from Iraq, and that would have been during the coalition of George Bush, I guess.
Yes,
and,
it was.
a lot of companies bailed out from Iraq during that time.
Right, and he was a newly socialist president of Spain. Ultimately, did not do well for the country, and as a result, they're still in a real mess economically with 22% unemployment with youth and 10-12% unemployment for the rest of the country. It's the GDP is way down. It's a very sad situation.
Yeah.
Well, but not collapsing like Venezuela.
That's right. Well, back in 2007, and still going strong today, the Supreme Court in a 5-4 ruling upheld a federal ban on medical procedure that opponents called partial birth abortion. That was when the child was partially out of the birth canal and was killed. So they federal ban on that, but it seems as though that law has kind of just taken a back seat. That now we see all bets are off. I don't know.
Well, I think right to life people will carry this issue to the Supreme Court, and again, I still think that they won't overturn Roe versus Wade, but they will make a decision. It should be sent back to the states for the states to individually decide.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of states, you and I agree, I think that states, a lot of these states are doing their own abortion heartbeat bills laws, and things like that, and making their own rules as they go along in preparation for what may happen down the road with the Supreme Court makeup that we have now. Well, in 2012, Dick Clark died at the age of 82. American Bandstand, New Year's, Times Square, all of that. Quite a man.
Well, we know from all of these guys that we saw write all this music and play it. They're all still alive in their 70s and 80s,
yeah,
82. I mean, so clearly the music is good.
There you are. I'll go along with that. All right, we got Fox News and a couple other things here at the bottom of the hour. So we'll be right back with more right after this. All right, it is 26 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Thursday, April 18th, 2019, 34 degrees outside. No guests today. Shane and I are here to take your questions, comments, quibbles, complaints, whatever you want to talk about. We are here for you. There's nothing to fear. Tom and Shane are here. So we're ready to rock and roll with you this morning. So
just don't ask either of us to sing.
That's right. Yeah, don't even think about that, doing anything like that. So,
exactly.
Well, Shane, in local news, Romney Hall getting closer, I guess, to approval from the Senate. Money for Romney Hall's renovation is just one vote away from winning approval. The Montana House passed House Bill 5 on Wednesday by an overwhelming 65-35 vote. The bill's final vote is scheduled Thursday. The cash bill would also would okay spending of more than $47 million for statewide infrastructure projects, including $25 million cash to remodel Romney Hall on the Montana State University campus. So we'll see how we'll see if that one last vote can get it done or not. And we'll just see how that plays out. So it'll be.
Well, can't I suggest that maybe we could change the name of that hall because it's in the news so much, right?
Yeah, I know.
I think people are tired of hearing that name.
That name Romney all over the place. Oh, that could be true.
It's like that famous mansion in your city.
Yeah, right. There you go. Well, the other thing that's happening right now, another harbinger of summer's approach arrives this week, the opening of roads in Yellowstone National Park. So we're going to get the roads open so you can recreate down there and have a good time. Park announced this week that 3 of its most used road stretches are scheduled open to cars on Friday, from West Yellowstone to Old Faithful, and from Mammoth Hot Springs to Old Faithful, and from Norris to Canyon Village. And the road from Mammoth to Cook City is already open now, so the opening of roads will be subject to weather, of course. But
I don't understand why in the new Green Deal there isn't a thing for rail setups in the national parks like Yellowstone. So no cars. I mean, think of the damage the cars are doing driving through the park.
Well, I would think so. Yeah.
It should have a above ground, SkyTrain type set up from
monorail like Disneyland is. Yeah,
or Jurassic Park, right, where everybody rides through and stops at the the mud pots, and and then they get back in and zip on through, and then they pay a nice big amount, like $25, $35, $40 for a ticket.
Sure, there you go. You're the man.
That's right.
Boy, there goes our national debt. Put Jane in charge.
The farmers could set up parking lots outside the park.
Whoa. There you go. $25 to park, $25 for the ride.
Serious coinage, buddy.
$49.95 if you buy both. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, roads.
Just a thought.
Yeah, roads further inside the park interior have later opening dates, but the road to Lake Village won't open until next month. Both the road from the east entrance and from Canyon Village to Lake Village are scheduled to open on May 3rd. So visitors can hop in the car and go down there and have a good old high time in the park. Yeah.
Yes, or stay outside the park and go hot potting and have a better time.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So, well, who wants to go to Wyoming anyway? There's nothing there. There's nothing in Wyoming.
Migrants from Mexico?
Yeah, that's all that's there. They should make national parks sanctuary parks, and then they could clean them up. Everybody out there, everybody would have a job cleaning up the parks. So, yeah.
Right, all those high school students that get summer jobs would be happy to have their job have themselves replaced.
That's right.
By illegal immigrants. Wonderful.
Why not? That sounds
everybody else is.
That's like a deal to me. Well, in other news, 60% of Montanans live in a place without enough licensed child care providers, according to the Center for American Progress, and that number goes even higher for rural and low-income residents, straining families and local economies. One Bozeman-based child care startup hopes to change things. Yeah, and we're talking about My Village. It's a business that connects families with home-based child care options, trains providers, and helps license early childhood educators offered in Montana and Colorado. The company announced Monday that it raised $5.9 million in its venture capital seed round, the largest in Montana history, according to Crunchbase. And having a large seed round shows that investors believe in a company and its technology early on. So, so this could be quite a nice deal for our area here. It's called My Village, and the Erica McKay is the co-founder. And if you can imagine starting at the place where you don't have anywhere safe and nurturing to send your child when you have to go to work, that means you don't go to work. So hopefully that will pan out for some of the folks that need child care, so they can provide for their families.
This is one of those big debates of value. Mm-hmm. You talked a bit yesterday about, we spent the time with talking about student loans and the impact and everything. Mm-hmm. The other thing that's so significant is demographics, because the future, it belongs to the countries that have a demographic of 2%, right? Or a growth rate, rather, of 2%. Yeah. And with the Muslim population in the world basically having a birth rate of 8-1, and most other countries, including Canada, the United States, are less than 2, this is a real difficult thing. And this should be something the government actually helps young people with, so that they have children. Yeah. Because then they can have more children. It's so expensive, Tom.
It really is.
It's like $35 per child per day, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's $70 a day per kid.
You almost have to work to pay for the child care.
Yeah. I mean, $70 a day, that's $350 a week. That's...
Amen. Yeah, that's the problem. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more right after this. 14 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Thursday, April 18, 2019. 33 degrees outside. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Shane and Tom and half man, half amazing. And Tommy Goloff, your morning mayor. And, well, we're talking about a lot of things. One thing that came up, Shane, that's kind of a conundrum, I guess, was the Time 100 influential people. And
right.
that included, of course, Justice Kavanaugh and Ballsy Ford, both 100 of in the same 100 people.
Yeah, imagine, right? Like,
yeah.
How is that possible?
I don't know. But, a lot of people were saying, well, wait a minute. How can these both? I guess they both were influential as we went through the Kavanaugh hearings, of course. That was quite a dramatic time, certainly, and a lot of emotion on both sides.
Well, yeah, and
that
books
issue.
will be written about it. That's the amazing thing. Books will be written about what happened and what transpired, and it's a fascinating reality in a republic of free speech, that the interesting differences of opinion that it can occur.
Yeah.
But that was the hardest one. That was like Bork. You remember the Bork hearings back?
Oh yeah, that was quite an extravaganza. Yeah, I can remember.
Senator Biden was in charge of that.
Yeah. No, that was Well, that's where it never really stuck. But a lot of people said you were borked.
That's right.
If something bad happened to you, you were borked.
You got borked.
But it never really caught on. But well, in other news, Beyonce and Netflix got together, and
yes.
Netflix has been. They released their earnings the other day, Shane, as you know, and way down in subscribers nationally, but worldwide quite high.
Growing significant. Yeah, 138 million. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. Yeah, they missed expectations on the U.S. front. So,
and keep in mind, this is basically a website produces nothing. All they do is provide a service. Mm-hmm. They go out and they lease, rent content.
Yeah,
which they then sell to people who pay a monthly fee of around $14.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just absolute cash flow, right?
Well, pretty much. They have started producing their own production.
Oh, now
they've it took a few years before they started doing that, but they're and again, what's going to happen now that Disney Plus has come into the picture, and as we've talked about, we think cable TV is on its way out, and streaming, these streaming services will be the new content, and you can pick and choose, which you can't do with the cable companies. You can pick and choose, and I think all these companies that have cable channels, like the Golf Channel or the Food Channel or whatever, are going to become streaming channels on Netflix or Disney or something else, and the cable companies are just going to be, I don't know what they're going to be.
That's right. So Netflix total worldwide, 154 million people, 148 million who paid. But they have all these different services, as you have pointed out. But the staggering reality is you talk about a company that's generating $15.7 billion a year in people sending them money every month for something they don't produce. But like you say, they're spending several $1 billion to generate their own content now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, you won't be able to get Disney on Netflix anymore.
Yeah. Well, well, probably not. I would think they would.
No,
they would be proprietary. Yeah. So and Disney has quite a volume of stuff with Touchtone and Disney as well. I mean, they've got more than enough. They got a big enough library to absolutely dominate a lot of that, particularly in family issues and things like that. So.
And they bought the 21st Century Fox, their library, and they have the DC Comics. They have all the comics stuff to do.
Yeah.
Star Wars, they bought Star Wars from the boys. Remember? $4.2 billion, and they made it back in two movies. Wow.
There you go. We got to take another quick break. We'll be right back with more right after this. 5 minutes before the top of the hour, it is Thursday, April 18, 2019. It is 33 degrees outside, and Shane Matobin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagle, your morning mayor in the house, and you're on the KMMS Morning Soapbox. So, well, we're all over the place this morning, Shane, I guess.
Well, there's a lot of problems to solve.
Well, that's true. I'm just excited everything's working this morning. It actually sounds like a real radio show. I don't know.
It makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? It really does.
I don't know. I'm kind of excited. Well, another thing that happened yesterday with all the other problems we have, our text line didn't seem to, I'm looking at, we didn't have any texts, and then all of a sudden overnight, here come all these texts in. So I think we'll start before we do the 5 things you need to know at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
We'll go through some of these texts and kind of remind people what we were talking about yesterday, because we talked about student loans, we talked about retirement, we talked about Andy's call about the border wall, we talked about all kinds of things. So we will... And whether or not college was important to everyone. That's another thing we talked about. So,
yeah, it was great because basically in the 21st century, you're looking for the sweet spot. You and I talk about, in commerce, in commerce, in the economy. You want to be able to look out there and imagine where is the largest growth of employment going to be and potential. Increase in pay raises. And no question, it's healthcare. And the top end of that is patient care, like in-home patient care.
Yeah.
You can get a job in-home with room and board and make $5,000 to $10,000 a month, depending on what kind of care you provide. If it's full care or whatever. But that's a pretty good job. That's a sweet spot.
Yeah. Well, it certainly can be if you're, it takes a certain temperament, I think, to handle children. Obviously, you can't be a whipping chains, tie them up in the corner.
Definitely a first responder type person.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to be pretty compassionate to deal with everybody else's kids and whatever.
No, but that's just an example.
That's true. No, there are a lot of professions that don't require college. Galton College has welding classes, I believe, and you can, if you turn out to be a pretty decent welder, you can certainly make 60, 70, 80,000 a year doing just welding and having a good time at it. And it's hard work, but pays well.
Everything's hard work, Tom.
Well,
this is hard work.
It is. You're right. It's harder than it looks, isn't it?
People think it's easy dealing with you. It's not easy.
It's not easy dealing with me. No,
I'm not easy to deal with at all.
I know. Yeah.
Yes. We know that.
Yeah. We're best friends, but we don't always see eye to eye on everything.
That's right. And I'm terrible at hand signals. And
I know. Yeah, we got everything going. Yeah,
I've got my issues.
Well, at least it's better that we can see each other now that we weren't able to before, and just doing it by phone was kind of iffy. But now at least we can. We're getting our hand signals better, I think. That's going on. Yeah. So. Yeah, well, when you come in July, you're going to be in town in July, I believe, June or July, right?
July, yes.
Yeah, July. Okay. We'll sit down and we'll hash out our hand signals and get them all down pat. And
we're gonna have a sign clinic.
Yeah, we'll bring somebody in who knows how to sign, and then we'll be able to talk to each other or whatever. I don't know. Oh man. All right, that wraps it up for the first hour of the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane, and we'll be back with more stuff. One of the things I wanted to talk about, Shane, is Uber is going to issue an initial public offering, an IPO. And we're going to maybe talk a little bit, get your opinion on Uber. See what you think about that. We don't recommend stocks, but we can certainly give you some information about Uber if you're thinking about investing in it. And so we'll talk about that. Also coming up next, of course, the 5 things you got to know. And we'll be back with that right after this. All right, we are back in town again. It's Thursday, April 18, 2019, 34 degrees outside, 4 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m. And boy, Shane, we had a big opioid bust over last day or so, man. Lots of folks are in between a rock and a hard place. The ARPO strike force involve over 350,000 prescriptions, 32 million pills distributed out by healthcare officials across several states: Ohio, Tennessee, Alabama, West Virginia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Florida. 31 doctors, 7 pharmacists, and 8 nurse practitioners were charged on Wednesday. And some of the examples, had one guy in Dayton, Ohio, prescribed over 1.75 million opioid pills between October 2015 and October 2017. So, wow, talk about a pill mill.
What a pill! That sounds worse than what it took Mueller to get his report done.
I was going to say, man, these guys were very serious. One doctor in Tennessee called himself the Rock Doc.
Oh my!
And he would exchange stuff for sexual favors. Over a 3-year period, he prescribed approximately 500,000 hydrocodone, 300,000 OxyContin, and 1,500 fentanyl patches, and more than 600,000 benzodiazine pills.
My God.
Oh, God. And another one in Tennessee, 4.2 million opioid pills. So you would think the pharmaceutical companies will say, boy, these guys must have a lot of really sick people in their area.
That's right, yeah. Or suffering from a lot of dental pain. Yeah. And the interesting thing is it's made, OxyContin is manufactured by the Purdue Pharma Company.
Yeah.
They've been around with this drug since 1892.
Wow.
And they've managed to adjust the formula for OxyContin for over 100 years to be able to maintain the patent. And there's only 5,000 people in the company. It's out of New York. It's a private company. And they have annual sales around $3 billion. And, they've been one of the companies, the pharmaceutical companies that your government's been looking at. Rhodes Pharmaceuticals is another big one. Napa Pharmaceuticals. Interestingly enough, these are not large pharmaceutical companies in the context of global pharmaceutical companies. I mean, but it's a virulent problem between doctors and small manufacturers, to provide these types of prescriptions. And when we talk about legalizing illegal drugs, it worries you because you see the government can't even manage properly legal drugs.
Well, that's that's the point,
That's the big scourge.
Yeah, I got to sign my name and show my license to buy Sudafed at Walmart, but But a 30-year-old patient in Alabama overdosed after being prescribed more than 800 oxycodone pills over 2 months prior to her death, whereupon the doctor who prescribed them allegedly directed the patient's husband to dispose of all pill bottles before police arrived at the scene.
I know, 800, over 2 months? That's 60 days. That's I mean, that's scary.
Yeah, that's pretty. Wow. That's a lot of pills there. And of course,
8 pills a day. Yeah, I think you'd deal.
Yeah, I think you'd be in bad shape.
It reminds me of back in the 70s and 80s. Remember when the CDC and all those people studying cancer were testing rats, and they fed them Coca-Cola, these obscene amounts of Coca-Cola every day. Mm-hmm. They ingested, and then over 3 months they started growing some types of cancer lesions. And there was a big story, that continuous drinking of Coca. Well, yeah, but when you read about how much they were consuming, you're surprised they didn't die. So it's one of those things that once you become addicted to something like this, it's a difficult situation.
Yeah.
It affects so many people. Oh my goodness.
Well, it does, and it's a sad situation. 115 people a day die from this, so that's pretty.
Well, yeah, but people would be in the streets if we were in both our countries were in a military conflict, and 115 to 150 people were dying a day.
Mm-hmm.
Of our military, people would be in the street protesting. But even in our country with this issue, it's as bad in our country, as yours. Like our homeless is as bad as yours, 10% of our population, and there's just no outrage. No outrage.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It depends on whose ox is being gored, I guess, as to how outraged we're going to be. Well, obviously, today's a big day. The version of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's 400-page report will be released. Offers a detailed look at the investigation into whether President Trump obstructed justice. People familiar with the matter told the Washington Post that the report is lightly redacted, the Post reports, with a blow-by-blow of ways Trump was suspected of having obstructed justice. Mueller was unable to make a conclusion on whether Trump obstructed justice because it was difficult to determine Trump's intent, and some of his actions could be interpreted innocently. So Trump refused to answer Mueller's questions on obstruction. Attorney General William Barr will hold a news conference on Thursday morning and hours before the report's release, providing an overview of that document. So there we are.
Well, a lot smarter people than me will be reviewing it, so I'll just wait and see what they have to say.
Well, I was going to say that's all we can do. You don't have any idea what's in it. Both sides want the one side wants him completely exonerated, the other side wants him impeached. So
yes,
there's no middle ground in there anywhere. We don't have impeachment light.
Yes, exactly. So, that's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, let's see, the DOJ, White House lawyers have had several conversations with Department of Justice officials about the conclusion made in Mueller's report, giving President Trump's legal team the opportunity to come up with a rebuttal before the report is made public on Thursday, and people with knowledge of the matter said that. And last week, Attorney General William Barr would not answer questions from lawmakers about whether the Justice Department gave the White House a preview of the report's findings. Yeah, Barr, who will hold a press conference on the report today, has come under scrutiny for the way he has handled the matter, including his determination that Trump did not obstruct justice. So, I guess we'll see. But I would think, the president didn't have any chance to rebut this report. So no. I think he should be prepared to do that if there's anything in there that the Democrats pull up and say, well, what about this? I think.
Well, I think there's. Here's my view on it. My view is that he didn't ask to rebut it and didn't get a chance to rebut it because they know it's in it. They believe that Barr honestly told them there's no collusion, there's no obstruction. So they can. Trump is great at this. He loves the news cycle to go out there and pull their hair out and their the fingernails, and then he'll start tweeting about it. Yeah. And then answer questions and going to Marine One to catch a ride somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
But he'll let everybody make a fool of themselves because he's going to come out and go, well, you did it again, folks. You lied for 2.5 years. Then when Mueller came out with the report, you didn't like Barr's
redaction.
Reduced reversion of it, and you called him a scumbag, and now you were wrong about Barr, you were wrong about Mueller, and you were wrong about me. So there you go.
Well, I guess we'll find out when it finally comes out. So we'll see what we can come up with. But let's see, North Korea. has
yes.
test fired a new tactical guided weapon. So so much for Kim and Trump being best buds. He's
I don't think that they've launched a missile. I think they just, they tested one at one of their
test fired. Sounds like they launched it, but I don't know. Maybe they locked it down and just
they do. They have
locked it down and test fired it. Yeah, okay. So
the interesting thing about this, is, this is North Korea, 103. His grandfather 101, his father 102, son 103. So he is sort of like Assad of Syria.
Mm-hmm.
Assad's father did the same thing back in the 50s when there was a civil war. He had a civil war and he crushed the Sunnis because his tribe was Shiite.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what Assad did. And then so now you have North Korea. So it's a predicament to find yourself in, but the predicament isn't ours; it's his.
Yeah.
Like I said to you, if he so much as flagellates, which I think I can say, he's gone, right? I mean, that's the bottom line.
Well, it depends on how it affects China too, I believe. And China, because we're trying to do talks with China. They want talks with us because their economy sucks. Well, it does.
Well, it does. They're in trouble with demographics again, right?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, they're in real trouble, and but they've got to save face with an agreement of some kind.
That's right.
So we've got to either have fair trade and protection of intellectual property and things like that, before we go crazy with.
Yeah, Trump has to do this. He has to hammer them on this trade deal because for the next 20 years, the Chinese are going to be burying 400 million people. They're dying.
Amen. Yeah. Let's take a quick phone call, then we got to take a break. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
This is Clint.
Hey.
Morning, Shane. I wanted to talk about two subjects, but if we haven't got very long, I better hang up.
Okay. Well, we got about a minute before we have to go to news, so if you want to call back, you're more than welcome.
I will.
All right, call back after the break.
Okay.
All right, we'll take that break right now, and we'll be right back. 19 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m. It's Thursday, April 18, 2019, 36 degrees outside. Shane Matavin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor, in the house. And this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Welcome, everybody. If you'd like to be a part of the big broadcast, 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Or you can text us at 478-8298. And that's an easy way to get on the air.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or you can go to the site if you miss our shows and download.
Download our pages, yeah. And get our app, the AM 1450 KMMS app on your smartphone. And like our Facebook page as well.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Just help us listen to us.
That's right. Let's take that phone call. Caller, you're on the Morning Soapbox. What's your name? What's up?
This is Clint.
Yeah. What's up?
Well, you guys were talking about Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a veteran of Korea, okay?
I know that.
Now, during World War II, Russia and China both helped us and the best they could. Chiang Kai-shek helped us, helped our men, everything. We had an agreement with Russia and China. If we went into Korea, if Russia went into Korea, this was part of everything. This was part of the Berlin, part of Germany on the walls and everything was built. This is all part of it. And nobody ever tells the true story about it. And I'm going to tell you the true story. Russia installed the leaders of North Korea. Am I right or wrong?
They have a 10-mile border with them.
Well, there's a 38th parallel. Mm-hmm. Korea, why was it formed? It's because of Russia. The Japanese had a stranglehold on all of North and South Korea. Russia went in there and helped us, okay, to some extent, not much, but a little. But Russia put in power Kim Jong-un's family. They put him in power. Now, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen here. North Korea is a nation just like we are, separated by the 38th parallel. And they have every right to have an atomic bomb. They have every right to do what they're doing, okay? Just as we have the same right. And who are we to be the policemen of the world and say that they can't? They're going to have to become part of the nuclear nations. It's inevitable. And if you went in there and tried to stop them, whether it be Trump or the next president or whoever it's going to be, you'd have World War III. You got China to deal with, and you got Russia. And right now, Russia is talking with Kim Jong-un. Now, we better be careful in what we do. I think President Trump is doing the best he can. They'll never denuclearize North Korea, never. And Kim Jong-un knows that. What this is a political game with the United States and the rest of the damn world. And I don't believe a damn thing that they say anymore because we know the facts. Most people know the actual how North Korea was, how the leaders were installed and everything. And they know the facts that Russia and China are interlocked with each other, and also Iran. Now, you better stop and think about all this, and they quit putting this propaganda on all the time. They're not telling us the truth. You know, that's what I got to say today, and it kind of irritates me, and I'm not a North Korean fan, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, okay.
The thing is, what I've said to you is an absolute fact. And the American people need to know the truth. We've been lied so much. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And one other thing I wanted to say about the mine over there at Chico.
Yeah.
That judge overstepped her bounds. And it's like Jennifer Morty said, and Jennifer's a pretty damn good lawyer, you can't do anything until you're harmed.
Yep, that's right.
And they haven't been harmed, Chico. They haven't harmed anybody. So why do we put up with this crap? Why don't the people say something?
Well, they think they're if judges rule, what can you do? Clint.
Yeah, but Tom, it's unconstitutional what she did.
I agree. But unless somebody brings an action showing that, it's a moot point. And you know it. I'm
talking to you on this radio, and a lot of people are listening.
Well, let's hope so. Yeah.
Well, what does our flag say? Like my son says, what does our flag represent? What's on our flag? We are the treasure state. What's on that, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Take a look.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking up for the mining industry as well as everybody else, because every job that's lost in the mining industry, which Whitehall is going to shut down, every man that's lost affects 5 more. And people don't realize the amount of companies that are involved in the mining industry. They don't, the parts people, the belts, I could go on and on for an hour about it. But I'm saying people don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yep.
And that's all I got to say.
All right, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the call. All right. Shane, I was picking up a clicking noise at your station there.
Okay, I'll check around here and see if I have a mouse running around.
Sounded like you were clicking a pen or something.
No, not a pen.
Okay.
I might be clicking my mouse.
That
literally.
could be it. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, it's coming through loud and clear. So, all right. Yeah, just letting you know. So
I appreciate it. Yeah, no problem.
So, not picking on you, just.
No. I'll beat up on my mouse when we're done.
Okay, there you go. All right. Let's see. Also in news, where are we? Yeah, we're all right time-wise. Woman who threatened Columbine High was found dead. She shot herself. The 18-year-old woman traveled from Colorado to Miami and made a credible threat against 20 schools, including Columbine. She bought a shotgun, I guess, and was making all kinds of threats and whatever, and then went out in the woods and shot herself. So
wow, very sad.
Know. So it's quite a thing. Saturday's the 20th anniversary of that massacre and Jefferson County Public Schools has reported a surge in threatening emails and telephone messages over that time. So I don't know, kind of a sad thing that we have to capitalize, or we can't, realize that that's a bad incident, and it shouldn't prompt emails and telephone messages threatening people or whatever. So,
and it highlights the mental issues that people have in society.
Yeah.
And, in a growing society and a population of 330 million people, you're going to have people with mental issues.
Well, obviously, I think we certainly have some there. So,
but the authorities certainly tracked her down. This is a case where you'd have to say they did their job in that. I'm not a doctor or anything. I don't want to say I'm drawing any conclusions, but based upon what the news announcements were and the way we followed it in the last 48 hours, most people in a situation like that, this being this woman, she saw it on the news what was going, and and you
struck a chord.
At some point, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And you clicks another issue that you're dealing with, and she made a choice. Regrettably, that was that she didn't want any help. That's what she decided.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this half hour. From our text line, 478-8298, something Shane and I have been talking about for a long time. China and Russia get around the test ban treaty by using North Korea. And why not? Yeah, that's what we've said over and over. So
you called it, Mayor.
All right. We'll be back. Stay tuned for more. 25 minutes for the top of the hour. Thursday, April 18th, 2019, 39 degrees outside. Shane Taubman on the line with me, half man, half amazing. Tom Eagle up, your morning mayor in the house, and it is the KMMS Morning Soapbox. And we got a bunch of texts I need to get to, Shane, because yesterday our text line wasn't functioning either. So we got a whole bunch of them backed up here. So we read the one, China and Russia get around the test ban treaty by using North Korea, and we've talked about that quite a bit on the air, that North Korea's not in that treaty, so why not let them do the testing for Russia and for China?
Exactly.
And we were talking about high school yesterday. Well, if you're rich, you just pay to get in high-end schools. So there you are. And do you remember the service at the post office before FedEx and UPS? Rudest people ever. And I think we remember that. We were talking yesterday about FedEx and the owner of FedEx on our history doing some things. So Andy got a few things going on. He talked yesterday about the ports of entry, drugs coming through and legalizing drugs and all of that. Andy is whacked out. Legal heroin would be the end of America as we know it. Typical America-hating Democrat. Not fair to let Andy get all that airtime right before Mike comes on. Notice to give a second opinion. And that guy is ruining yours and voices of my shows. We hate it. Or my talks, I mean.
Yeah, well, but to both of those are those people that sent those texts in. Texts. Yeah. The question for them is, what's the solution? How do you stop the demand for drugs that someone will fill? I mean, the void will be filled by somebody, legally or illegally.
Yep.
So you got to solve the problem. How do you solve the problem?
Andy was talking about legalizing heroin yesterday. What in that case, don't you have a dump button? Better yet, screen his calls. Okay. Well, we do have a dump button, but all views are welcome here. It's one of our of our trademarks, even if you don't like if you don't like it. From our text line, we need to encourage more kids to go into trades, offer incentives to do so. Trades offer good-paying jobs right out of the gate. The root of the problem is Wall Street students with loans are paying their hard-earned money back to the same ones who bailed us out in '08 and '09. Let's tax Wall Street speculation at 50 cents per 100 traded. This would raise billions for education. If the American people can bail out Wall Street, they can bail out the American people. So, sounds good to me. What do you think, Shane?
Yeah, there you go.
President Trump for life. My taxes dropped over 33% since Obama left. So there you are.
Obama. That's
Obama left. There you go. All right. Let's see. I had a college fund, but I chose to invest that college fund in rental real estate instead of an underwater basket weaving degree. You don't have to go to college to make a living. You just have to think outside the box. So that would be correct also. And from our text line, House Bill 658 is alive and going back to the House. If you have concerns about this bill, contact your representative. What is the economic impact on unfettered immigration with wages and medical costs? Well, that's a good question. I don't know that anybody knows what the unfettered cost of all that would be, Shane. There's a lot of it, obviously.
I bet it'd be close to the same cost as the new Green Deal.
Well, that is very possible. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Call you on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Well, here's another one in line, Daniel R. Peterson, who gets accused of being a socialist. But one year I voted for the Constitution Party, and as I had said, I've never been on welfare, never gone bankrupt, haven't even gone on unemployment. I've been a minimalist. I didn't get a car till I was 52, so there is that other end. You just be less spendful, and you don't have to be pulled into all the jaws of the system. But nevertheless, I still think that strong changes need to be happening to this system. It isn't the magic wand, this magic capitalism. Something is problematic with it. I question it deeply, but that doesn't make me a socialist.
So what changes do you propose?
That there's more democracy that enters into these things when you have the bosses. I know that Andy has mentioned that the bosses have this strong pull on the people. Why can't we have democratic decisions on our economic part of our life just as well as our political life?
Well, Town and Country is employee-owned.
Yeah, and the co-op.
Co-op, another one.
When I lived in the big city of Milwaukee, I was one of the first people that hit the budding co-op.
Mm-hmm. And they're a capitalist organization.
What, the food co-op is a capitalist? No.
Sure. Sure it is. It's a profit-making enterprise. It may be nonprofit, but it still has to make enough to pay the people and do everything else.
Oh yeah.
Public companies are what you're describing because people can vote every day to be a shareholder or not.
Yeah.
They don't want to be a shareholder because what the companies does, they sell their stock, and they want to be a shareholder, they buy into it.
Yeah. Real simple.
Yeah. And the general manager has said there that. What is a living wage? We can't just give what the people think is a living wage. We have to give what we think is a living wage from the executive side. But the people have a lot of say on what the co-op's going to do. It doesn't just run willy-nilly how the bosses decide.
Well, actually it does.
Hey, you sort of have to look at human nature. Yeah. I mean, if the employees at Amazon aren't being treated well, which we seem to be hearing a lot in the press, and they're not paid they're not paid a living wage, why do people keep supporting Amazon? Not only commercially by buying their products, because they're they're just they're just a supplier. They don't produce anything. They just supply it to you. Number two, they're a public company and people are owning their stock. So what if a lot of people agreed with what you're saying, they wouldn't buy from Amazon, from what they're hearing, the way they treat their employees, and they wouldn't own their stock.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because people work from selfishness first and group consciousness second. It's the way the collective consciousness has developed in this country.
Well, it's the airplane mode, Daniel. You put your mask on first before you put mask on somebody else. You take care of yourself first.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to not do it that way. I've never bought anything from Walmart. I think that this plan is so screwed up with.
And there's a lot of people that don't, but Walmart still makes a living. So.
Yeah, I know.
All right. I gotta go. I'm up against the clock here. So, hey, thanks for the call, though. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks for talking with me. All right, we'll be right back. Phones are ringing. We'll be right back, Shane. 12 minutes for the top of the hour. 12 minutes, really? Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, we're there, baby. We're there.
Thursday, April 18, 2018, 41 degrees outside. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. Shane Taubman on the line with me. Half man, half amazing. And, well, talking about what Daniel was hitting on, one of the things that when I worked as a store manager, 15% of my cost was payroll. I couldn't go above 15% for payroll. And
right.
Yeah. So I'm stuck in there with the payroll situation, and so I have a choice. First thing I have to look at is how many people will it take to satisfy the customers and stay within that 15%. So I can either hire several people for less or fewer people for more. But correct. I've got to stay in that lane. Now, if you come along and impose a living wage on me as an employer, okay, I have to pay that living wage. But what that means is I'm going to have less people making more money, and the customer is going to suffer because I'm not able to deliver the service that I could deliver if I offered the job at a certain rate and people applied and they accepted those conditions. So
exactly.
Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's up?
Hi, Tom and Shane. This is Steve.
Steve.
You know, the other day, I was going to call yesterday and I got busy doing stuff. But
that's all right.
The other day, when we hung up, Shane says, "Oh, yeah, but we're doing really good now." Well, the economy is. But the problem is we have violated every part of the Constitution. We follow none of it. We practice all 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto in America. And so...
Well, it's because the Communist Manifesto is not in the Constitution.
Well, how come we follow it then?
Well, it's easier than following the Constitution.
Well,
it's easier. Come on, Steve. It's easy.
Well, and you see that happening. All these Democrats that want their free stuff.
There you are.
Well,
it's that simple.
I know. Well, you know how you cook a live frog, don't you?
That's it, man. Warm the water up slowly.
That's what they've done to us. Well, I see a big wreck happening, and it's going to be a worldwide wreck. What's the national debt of Japan?
Oh, she might know.
159% of their GDP. I know that.
Yeah.
What's the national debt of America?
Well, 22 trillion according to the debt clock, if you believe that. But
115% of GDP.
Yeah.
What's the national debt of the European Union?
Oh, the European Union is, they're about 118% of their GDP.
All right. So, how long do you think this can go on?
Forever.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, forever.
Yeah.
The founders of this country warned us if we ever allowed the international bankers to control the currency and credit, our children would wind up slaves on the continent their forefathers fought and died for. And we did in 1913, December 23rd, midnight, 5 congressmen stayed back in Washington, D.C. when all the rest of the people had got on the trains, went home for Christmas, and they had all agreed there would be no important legislation happen while they left. And those 5 congressmen stayed in and voted in the Federal Reserve Act, which is no more federal than Federal Express. And now Congress did a study, 1971, I believe, to see what the net worth of the Rothschilds was. 51% of the world's wealth in 1971. So, you see a problem here.
Well,
I still don't understand what the problem is.
yeah.
I mean, like without income tax, you have no airports, no roads, no sewer, no water, no electrical power. You have no infrastructure whatsoever. You wouldn't have any growth. You wouldn't have any government. You wouldn't have a military. You wouldn't have government benefits. You wouldn't have government regulations. You wouldn't have government safety codes. You wouldn't have fire codes, and on and on. So I'm missing what the point is.
Yeah. Well, real quick, Steve, because I got to go. I got to get one more break in here, so hurry up.
The point of the deal was the international bankers could see in about the 1800s that they had to get control of America because it was going to become a world power. We didn't have any Federal Reserve. We didn't have nothing. We didn't have a world military that's running around the world controlling everything else that's in the world. The Mystery Babylon is...
The global bank.
No, we can't go into the history of Babylon, Steve. I got to go. I'm sorry.
And the global bank.
I got to go. All right, yeah, I left my mic open while I was talking on the phone, so what?
Yeah, that was exactly. That's great. All
right, we got 2 callers on here at the same time, so I'm going to go to line number 1. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on? Okay, well, maybe not. All right, Paul, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, Paul's on line 2. Let's go.
All right. It's interesting the contrast between the previous 2 callers, Steve and the one that preceded him. If we stop and think with a little logic going on, most of the complaining is not really about the system. System is not the problem; it's the people in it. We have a lot of people blaming inanimate objects, inanimate systems, so on. The capitalist system has the chance of being one of the best in the world if the people in it were moral. Seems to me one of our forefathers said something about the question was, what do we got, a democracy or something else? Well, he says you got a democratic republic if you can keep it.
Yeah. And
it requires a moral people to be able to keep it. And we haven't been behaving that way. We are the problem. Everybody needs to look in the mirror and readjust.
There you are. Hey, thanks for the call.
You bet.
All right, appreciate it. All right, we got to duck out of here, and we got another full hour of open lines, so whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll go through some more of the text messages, which should prompt some things, and also some of the callers, and we can talk about capitalism versus socialism, whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll battle it out. So, hey, we got a free day today, no guests, so we'll be back with more right after this. Thursday, April 18, 2019, 44 degrees outside, 4 minutes after the hour of 8 a.m. And Shane Mattalman on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Shane may have to duck out of here early on us, but we'll keep him as long as we can, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting for a golden ticket, to see a doctor, hopefully.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's how long have you been waiting? Like 6 months, 8 months?
4 weeks, yeah.
4 weeks to get in to see the doc, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, let's hope you're okay.
I just...
Okay.
Got to get my meds filled, so I am.
Oh, okay. That's right. Yeah, you can't call in a prescription. You got to go. You got to go in physically and get it, don't you? Oh man.
Yeah, he can't charge me for a calling prescription. I got to go get it.
You got to go get it. All right. Well, let's see. We're going through some of the tech messages from our text line, 478-8298. We are a republic, not a damn democracy. We need to stop letting liberals call us that. We're not a democracy at all. That's mob rule. And we refuse to be a democracy.
Well, that's true. I mean, you know, it's we've talked about this, and you know, you have three different parts to your government, and triangle, and so you know, and two parts are elected, so that's a republic. It's not a democracy.
All right, let's take a call. 522 Talk is the number. Caller, thanks for waiting. You're on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Hey, this is Aaron.
Hey, Aaron.
I kind of want to say this to Daniel Peterson.
Okay.
I don't believe he's a socialist. You know, I don't know if I've ever heard him advocate the government taking over all our means of production.
Yeah.
I think what he is he's a welfare capitalist
or a libertarian.
Or a libertarian, right? But you know, I mean, and there's a difference, you know. So to call Daniel Peterson a socialist is. Yeah, you can't really call him a socialist. And capitalism has always walked hand in hand with welfare, the welfare state. And so, really, what the original Democrats or original Republicans, I guess by original I mean from my birth, you know, my time period, up until recently, the Democrats and the Republicans kind of just thought about how much welfare would be, redistributed to people. But we've always had it. Back in the day, the colonial times, they had poor houses, things like that. I think Daniel comes from a place his heart is good. I think he's an old man, and I've noticed with a lot of older people that, you know, we all become conservative while we're making our money and trying to amass our nest egg. And then once we get that built and we can relax a little bit and calm down, and you know, we all become a little more welfare incentivized. You know, it's like, yeah, I don't care. I've got mine, so you know, let's help some other people out when they and rightfully so. We can afford it at that point. But I think that's where Daniel's coming from, and he calls up and he kind of apologizes or defends himself, and I think Daniel's a pretty all right guy. So I just want to say that.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. All right, take it easy. All right, from our text line, the other day we were talking about Chase Bank. They were getting rid of customers or canceling customers or whatever because they were conservative.
Correct.
We were talking about that. Since Chase is targeting conservatives, they should be held accountable for being a predatory lender on college campuses. Not all kids have been,
not.
Yeah, I know they're not, but not all kids have been parroted well enough to know that credit card debt is not free. So,
well, yeah, and again, you know, credit card companies are unto themselves. Banks only represent them for being able to use their services,
right?
Which they pay the bank fees for. Number one. Number two, banks no longer make loans to students in the United States. And, you know, the great Waters, what's her name from California, you know, she challenged all the banks about what are they going to do about the student debt problem. You know, it was Diamond that said to her that, well, we haven't made loans since the government took over the loans in 2010. So there you go.
There you are.
That's it.
Let's take another phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Good morning. This is Charity.
Hi, Charity.
Hi, Charity.
So your texter said we are not a democracy at all. We are just a republic.
We're a democratic republic, I should say, I guess.
Yeah. And
if you want to be technical, yeah.
That's what I wanted to clarify was that we got our forms of government from Greece, from Rome, from American Indians that had Federalist ideals before we came here. Yeah. Anyway, so the way I understand it, it's a democratic republic, and so I was hoping that maybe that texter would clarify what he defines as the difference between using a conglomeration of different systems to create one system,
right,
as opposed to the Republic of Rome.
Yeah. Well, you just did. You clarified it for him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. All right. Appreciate it. Let's see, from our text line, 478-8298. Not everyone comes out of college knowing more. Some people transferred to Wharton and can't read and don't know about economics. So, well, that's probably true. You know, that's one of the things we talk about with free college. There are people who are going to take advantage of that if Bernie Sanders has his way and it's a tuition-free college, that you're going to have people that are going to go into college that aren't prepared for it, and they'll be taking the seat away from someone who could benefit from it.
But Americans, this is staring them right in the face. The U.S. government took over lending to college students in 2010. They've lent them money to go to web colleges, to state colleges, universities, and so forth. And look at how they've managed it. It's $1.6 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
You think that, giving people now free college is going to reduce that debt? No, it's only going to accelerate. Because government can't manage money well at all, or any program they initiate where they can work a meaningful payback system even for the individuals that owe this money. So, you're already looking at the problem you're going to be faced with this Bernie Sanders idea of free education. It's been going on since 2010 because they haven't paid it back.
True. Yeah. Well, from our text line, Tom, Dan here, a missed opportunity. Have your sales team pick someone to print out scripts and voice commercials live. John Russell used to do the news live as well as old school radio. Yeah, we used to have, what was his name? Atterbury came in and did the sports live as well. Well, I have three words to tell you why that won't happen. Town Square Media. They're not going to pay for somebody to do live reads of commercials, and I don't know that I want to sit here and do it, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to run down the hall every once in a while as needed if these were all the same. So exactly. I appreciate it, and I do miss the old George Carter days when John Russell sat in the studio right next to us and would read the news live for all 5 stations, and that is missed. That's a feeling of small town radio that when a conglomerate takes over, that we just don't have that anymore, and that's a sad fact. That's. I mean, we're lucky to have live people sitting here on talk radio AM. If we were FM, it would be no brainer. They would have somebody here talking on FM, but we're AM, and which means that we are at the bottom of the totem pole as far as revenue, income, and things like that. So,
that's right. We're low frequency in the line of sight, so we don't reach as many people as FM.
Yeah. In fact, we it's only about 2 feet, I think, that when they put up the 5 building right a couple blocks away, we got about a 2-foot window there of line of sight. Otherwise, we'd have to. I don't know what we would do. We would just not be on the air, I guess. So, but,
I guess, yeah.
Pretty lucky that building went up just high enough, or whatever. So
it's like when we had television in the '60s with rabbit ears. Right?
Well, right.
UHF, right? The UHF signal.
Yeah.
Let's get that UHF signal. It'll be better.
Right, yeah. Let's see. Also, we were talking about the wall with Andy. We were talking about somebody called in about being pre-med and went into something else. And anyway, the wall is supposed to stop people and not drugs. And pre-med is not a degree. And liberty, when we use democracy to destroy liberty, we have destroyed individuality or individual and minority freedoms and Western civilization. So there you are. Yeah. And we are a constitutional republic. So also there. So
that's true.
A college education isn't the only option. Our country is hundreds of thousands of workers short in the skilled trades, get paid and get an education and earn $100K once you have a skill. And that's certainly true. As long as you can do something people are willing to pay for, that's how you make money. Time.
People need a service. You fill it in, and that's what happens.
That's what happens. From our text line, 478-8298, Tom, you couldn't make this up. All too often, I see text using poor grammar and punctuation. Most common is using to instead of TOO, using TO instead of 2OO. TOO also, when conveying ideas of also, or loose instead of lose. So, yeah, you're right. Well, I'm guilty of that from time to time. Certainly, as most of you know, when we rebroadcast our shows on KMMSAM.com and go over and click on the Tom and Shane text or podcast, you'll see that I write a little description of each hour, some of the things we talked about and what all went on, and I'm always 10 times proofreading that, and I know every now and then I left out a question mark or I left out a quote or something, so I don't know. You can look at these things 900 times, and until somebody points it out, then it's glaringly obvious. How in the world could I have missed that?
Exactly.
One must remember that the greatest minority is the individual. There you are. Greatest minority. I like it.
Individual choice.
That's it. Okay, let's see. I have a suggestion. During the commercial breaks, stay on the air and recite the text of the commercials you probably haven't memorized. Well, I might as well. Yeah. Have you wondered why so many Europeans speak foreign languages?
Yes, that's right. Exactly. That's right.
Man, are you having a problem?
Yeah.
God.
You want to get along better with your wife in your bedroom?
That's right. Oh. And from our text line, most drugs come through ports, so we can lock our doors or build a fence around our yard and hope nobody climbs it. Why not? Mexico is paying for it. All right, that sounds good to me. Let's see. If Christian churches are having bank accounts closed because of their beliefs on homosexuals, are those banks also closing Islam accounts because of their anti-gay beliefs? Would the action be against religious discrimination laws?
Anti-abortion.
Yeah.
Anti-abortion.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah.
They'll stone a woman that has an abortion.
There you are. Let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's up?
Hey, so, you guys need to maybe have a show about the difference between a democracy and a republic.
Boy, we should, shouldn't we?
Well, I mean, seriously, because there's nothing democratic about this whatsoever. I mean, except for your local, but federally there wasn't. Your state senators were sent by those state legislatures, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that wasn't democratic. The only democratic process in the original form of this government was the election of the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
And that was the people
president.
And so then the people were given and so the difference between a democracy and a republic is the democracy, every person has a say in everything that goes on, right?
Right.
So it's two wolves and one sheep voting on what's for dinner.
Right.
Okay. So, and a republic is this republic, I'm sure there's other kinds of republics, but this republic in particular was set up that the states would have representation, the people would have representation, the federal government would have representation. Everybody would have representation. And then there would be a court system that balanced it all out and kind of helped everybody stay on track. Mm-hmm. And that's how it was intended. That's the difference between a democracy and a republic. We're not a constitutional republic. We're not I mean, people put those words on there, but I mean, it's just,
well, we elect people. What we do is we elect people to speak for us.
There you go.
That's pretty much what it boils down to.
But we didn't originally. We had an electoral college. Yeah. The only people that had a say in the presidential vote, and I think we need to go back to this, were people with property. If you didn't have any property, you shouldn't have been able to vote. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that was the correct way of thinking. The whole women voting thing, I don't think that, that would ever, but I think you can make an argument that if you don't have a stake in the game, you shouldn't be out there.
If you don't have skin in the game, you shouldn't be in the game.
Right.
That's right. And you're sort of bipolar about it because, it's a representative democracy, as Tom says, where you vote for people to represent your interests and then create laws and manage the affairs of government. But in some cases where you have a referendum, that's a direct democracy where, you have a referendum in your state. There's never been really a national referendum, but
in our state, but originally the way this, and so there's been a concerted effort to change from a representative republic. Ben Franklin, when he came out of the convention, they said, "What kind of government did you give us?" We gave you a republic. If you can keep it, and we're losing it. We're losing it when the Senate and the House said, "Well, we're going to make that a popular vote election." The senators, and they took that right away from the states, so we've lost it there. Now we have the Democrats wanting to take away the Electoral College so that Montana will never have a say in who becomes president whatsoever.
Right.
That's right.
And we're losing that republic, and we're resorting to a democracy, and every democracy fails. And what people don't, and I think these poor college kids that come out of there with $70,000-$80,000 worth of debt, and a lot of times they're less educated than when they went in. They're not realizing that this is the oldest written document governing a nation in the world.
That's right.
There's nothing older than this. This is the most successful document governing a nation.
Yep.
And we need to realize that and understand it. No democracy lasts. No democracy has ever lasted. So, and as far as Daniel R. Peterson talking about the greed in capitalism, that greed goes in every form of economic system or government, and it's really tragic when it happens in communism and fascism. We've seen that.
And it should be mentioned that both Russia and Soviet Russia, communist China, both had their own constitutions that were predicated on the American one.
Right.
But they didn't follow it. They didn't.
Nor does the UN. They don't follow their guidelines either. So, I got to go. I'm sorry, I'm up against the clock here. Hey, thanks a lot for the call. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back. All right, it's 25 minutes after the hour. Shane needs to get out of here. He's got to go see his doctor.
Yes.
What a flimsy
the golden
excuse.
Ticket.
What a flimsy excuse that is. So, all right, buddy. Be careful. Take care, and we'll rock and roll without you. All right.
Thank you, everyone, for calling. Be happy, be safe, folks.
All right. Hang on. All right. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Well, caller, you on the air? Are you there?
Hey, Shane, one thing he doesn't want to do is miss the doctor's appointment in Canada.
No, I know. That's not going to work. So, amen to that. Yeah, in Canada, you can't just call in a prescription. You've got to, head down there and go for it. From our text line, 478-8298, an analogy of the difference between a democracy and a republic. 4 kids live in a neighborhood. One of them has a bike. In a democracy, if 3 kids vote to take the bike gets taken. In our republic, that bike is yours. So, that sounds good. Yeah. So there you go with that one. Let's see. Let's take another phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on the Morning Soapbox. What's up?
Well, good morning there, Thomas.
Hey.
The most important thing about the Republic is, and nobody mentioned it, is the protection of individual rights.
Well, yeah, that's the Constitution is supposed to protect us from the government, not the other way around.
Right. and that's why the Bill of Rights has a preamble that expresses the intent of what follows.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that it gives rights to us, it imposes restrictions on the federal system.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a few news snippets for you.
Okay.
There was a big thousands of people marched in Ecuador, in the capital, the other day for Assange. It's one thing. Another banner out there is GoFundMe. they're banning people who questions vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Gates wants...
Whoops. Hello. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I lost you, Pete. Let's take another call. 522-TALK is the number. Call you on the air.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what the previous...
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what your previous caller said about how the Constitution is to protect the people from the government and to restrict the government's overextension on its power.
Right.
Anybody that is, and that is including our government officials, that finds that Constitution to be an obstruction is just that, the adversary of the republic, and they need to be voted out because they will demise the entire republic and exalt themselves into a power that they are not qualified for, and thus negate the American public.
There you go.
All I gotta say.
Thanks for the call. Good job. Sorry, Pete, I accidentally was answering the other line, hung up on you. If you want to call back after the break, be my guest and finish your thought. Well, I apologize for that. Well, everything's running so well this morning, I got to figure out a way to mess it up. So anyway, we got to pay a couple bills. We got Fox News and other things coming up, so stay tuned. It'll just be me and you for the rest of the time we have, so give us a call at 522-TALK, 522-8255, or give us a text at 478-8298. We'll be back right after this. 25 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Thursday, April 18, 2019, 45 degrees outside. Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor in the house. Shane had to run off to a doctor's appointment. He'll be back with me tomorrow, but open lines right now. We've got... all kinds of things to talk about. Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens are going to be at MSU tonight. If you're not familiar with who they are, Candace Owens is a black conservative, so right there, she's in trouble with the Democrats and her race, I guess. And Charlie Kirk, of course, a commentator on Fox News from time to time and other stations as well. And you might remember they were back when they were chasing people out of restaurants. Kirsten Gillibrand got kicked out of one, and Mitch McConnell, a bunch of protesters approached him and his family, and Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens were in this restaurant in New York, I believe, and so they were throwing water on them and yelling things at them, and eventually chased them out of the restaurant. So they're going to be at MSU tonight. And also, I need to remind you that Aaron Flint is going to be doing his statewide broadcast 9 to 10 at the Grand Tree. So if you want to go by and say hi to Aaron, he'll be in the Grand Tree lobby there doing his statewide presentation of his program tomorrow, Friday, from 9 to 10. So if you want to meet Aaron or say hi to him or give him your thoughts or whatever, he will be there. So you could stop in and chat with him. So the other thing that has been in the news lately is the sanctuary city question of the president sending illegal aliens to the sanctuary cities. And some of the sanctuary cities have said, fine, bring them on. Others, New York, Bill de Blasio says, no, that's illegal. They're not doing it in my city. And I think the Oakland mayor also said, no dice here. But Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, he's all for it. Yeah, let's let everybody in here. Come on, bring them on. And of course, Bernie's not in favor of that. Bernie thinks it's a political ploy, and Bernie wants to build sanctuaries for them at the border. I'm just wondering, well, whose property do you build those on for that amount of people, Bernie? Do you have to pay off some property owners to put your buildings up like we do the wall, or what's the story there? So we'll see how that plays out. But if you want to weigh in on that topic, 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Let's go to the phones. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox. What's up? Maybe you lost him. All right. Well, we'll try again. Call back. I may have answered you too quickly. I don't know. But, the sanctuary city situation, with if you're not familiar with what a sanctuary city is or a sanctuary state, they have decided that they are not going to cooperate with federal officials, the ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They've decided that if they pick up someone who is illegally in the country, they are not going to hold them for ICE. They're not going to turn them over for deportation or whatever. They're going to hold them for whatever crime they've done and have give them their day in court and then turn them loose again. So that's that's the situation, and it's amazing to me that the people in these states go for that at all. But let's see what the callers have to say. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you are on the air. What's up?
Hey, it's Mayor.
Hey, Mayor.
How are you?
Good.
Hey, I got a question. How can it be illegal to put illegals in a sanctuary city, but not illegal to put them in a non-sanctuary city? I mean, these guys...
Shouldn't it be illegal to put them in any city?
Yeah. But they're saying, it's illegal to put them in a sanctuary city. No, they just don't want them in their city, even though they've said they're a sanctuary city. But, would it be illegal then to put them in Bozeman, Montana? I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, their thinking is just beyond my comprehension, I guess. I don't understand how you can't put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4. They put 2 together and come up with, I don't know, a couple trillion.
Apparently.
It's a sad state of affairs in this country right now with some of this rhetoric. And I think the sadder state is a lot of people believe the crap that comes out of their mouths.
Well, the other thing, is that everybody's lined up to take care of all these people, but, they don't seem to care about, the poor that we already have here that are citizens and our veterans and everybody else that's living out on the street. I mean, where's the compassion for your own people? A bunch of folks come up and assemble at the border and, oh my God, we got to do everything we can for them. Oh my God, what?
Yeah, I think Cher, I didn't think I'd ever agree with Cher on anything, but, when, when she said, we don't need them here, we got to take care of our own. Well, I never heard that coming out of her mouth until
I know.
Trump threatened.
I may have to go out and buy a copy of It's You, Babe.
They're all such hypocrites, and they until it actually might come into their own backyard, then it's a whole different ball game. So.
Well, it is, and particularly when you transport numbers up there, because that's going to make the local citizens unhappy, and then that falls back on the people who decided that you're a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state.
Yeah, and that's why it's not a representative government anymore in any way, shape, or form. I mean. If it was truly a representative government, I think most people would say, no, we don't want to be a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state. But you've got a couple of people that are calling the shots and saying, well, this is what we are, whether you like it or not. And, it comes back to the voting box, then vote them out.
Amen to that. Well said.
So that's the solution.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for the call.
All right, Tom. You bet. Thanks.
Have a good day. All right. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on the air. What's up?
I'm a compassionate person, too, and I chip my dog so I could find him and make sure that he's okay.
Yep.
And I can get him if I lose him. Can we chip these people to make sure that they are still staying in these sanctuary cities?
Well, I think some of them, they were talking about putting those ankle things on them, when they're released so they'll come back for trial. But you're talking about maybe 2 years before they get back here. So I don't know.
No, they just need to be monitored and maybe build a wall so they can't get out.
Well, there you are. We should do that.
Sorry, I'm just being mean. Sorry.
That's okay. Bye. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. 13 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Thursday, April 18th, 2019, 45 degrees outside. We've had a caller patiently waiting on the phone, so let's go to the phones. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox. What's up?
Good morning, Tom. On the sanctuary city topic, you had, I think, a caller a couple days ago say, these sanctuary cities were just a way for the Dems to thumb their nose at Trump. Mm-hmm. And I totally concur. It's exactly what it is. So now he's called them on. He says, okay, he's outsmarted them once again, as it's become typical. And he says, okay, you want these people, we'll give them to you. I got a question for you, Tom. Mm-hmm. They're willing, they don't want to turn away at the border. And it's, everything that we do to try to vet them, they complain about, especially the way it's handled when we just want to take care of their children and make sure that they're with their parents legally and well taken care of, but they have a problem with the way we do that. My question to you is, Tom, why do you think that is? The Dems would let them into our country willy-nilly where they never show up for their court dates and never probably become legal citizens. They have no problem with that. But now they have a problem with them being allowed into these sanctuary cities, which are the places, the very place that said they would accept, these refugees. So what's up, Tom?
Yeah. Well, you got to bring them out of the shadows, That's the typical response. And we'd rather keep them in the shadows of the border rather than in the shadows of our high rises here in Philadelphia or Chicago or wherever.
Yeah, you know what I think it is, Tom? If you actually put them in those sanctuary cities, it's all about the Democrats getting votes. They know darn well that will be very detrimental to the country. Mm-hmm. But see, they'd be under the microscope then. You let them go in a sanctuary city, just dump all these people there.
Yeah.
With the language barriers some of them have, the health problems, the drain on the economy, trying to find housing for all these people. All of a sudden, you can look at those cities and say, look, here's some of the policies of the Democrats. Look how stupid this is.
Yeah.
Look how foolish this is. If we did this nationwide and uncontrolled, just let people in the country, it would affect the nation in the same way it's affecting this city. I hope that Trump's successful.
Yeah.
Then some of these cities like San Francisco come under a microscope, and you'll see just exactly what happens if the Democrats are successful with some of their policies.
Yeah.
And this goes with the Green New Deal and everything else. It's insanity. So I hope that they accept the people in these sanctuary cities just so Americans can see what would happen nationwide if you listen to some of the Democrats and their wacko ideas.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think another thing is that they're looking at the census. They want these folks in here to be counted because that's where you get your representatives in government.
Absolutely, my brother.
Yeah, and I think Montana's missing a hell of a bet here. We need to take in about 400,000 or 500,000. Yeah. We'll get another representative, and then we can we'll just kick them out systematically after that's done. So
it's nothing about compassion and really caring for these people. I think you made the point, Tom. Why not just worry about the hungry, the homeless we already have here? You don't seem to hear much about that. Certainly not to the degree of the refugees, but it's all political.
Oh, yeah.
But I know you already know that. I'm preaching to the choir, but that's what I got for today, Tom. Have a good one.
Man. Have a good day. You too. All right. We got to do the Rush update, so here's Rush. 4 minutes before the top of the hour. It is Thursday, April 18, 2019, 45 degrees outside, and welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. From our text line, 478-8298. Do advertisers get rebates for ads that don't play? Well, yesterday we had a whole morning and part of the afternoon where ads didn't play, and the answer to that, of course, is yes, that they don't pay for ads that don't play, so they'll either get a rebate, a refund, or an additional group of ads or something to make up for that. So, and also from the same texter, they ignore homeless vets because less likely to vote, maybe. That could be. If they're on the street, they may not... they don't have a registered address or things like that. So let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you on the air. What's going on?
Hey, Tom, it's Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, I think it's time to reinstitute the 3/5 rule for the census.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that will reduce the representation for the illegal minority population, which, and before all the libs go crazy, listening to that. That's one of the tools that helped us get rid of slavery, actually, because it made the southern states wanted every slave to be counted, because then they would get more congressional representation in Congress to keep slavery alive. And the founders knew eventually that they could reduce the numbers with the 3/5 rule. So I say we bring back the 3/5 rule, and maybe that'll help us get rid of illegal immigration.
Well, that could be. I'm in favor, and I think a lot of people are, that the are you a U.S. citizen should be a question on the census, because just because you answer no doesn't mean you're illegal. You could be here on a student visa. You could be here on a work permit. Any number of illegal ways to be here. You could be here with a green card, whatever, and you're still not a citizen. But I think most of us want our government to be represented by the people who are U.S. citizers, who are here legally.
No. Half of them, at least half of them, Democrats and some Republicans. They want as many people who will vote for the Democrats to vote for Democrats to keep them in power. And this whole sanctuary city thing has exposed their whole lie of actually caring about if people are illegals or people south of the border or people of color, because it's not. It's about the fact that they don't really want them in their city. They want them to spread out through the country so they can turn red states purple or purple states blue, and they can stress out other states. So then those states have to go to the federal government, and they go, see, the federal government needs to be bigger and stronger.
There you go. Thanks, Kevin. I got to go. All right, take it easy. All right, thanks to all the callers. Thanks to all the texters. Been a busy morning today, so it's been kind of fun. So always nice to have open lines for 3 hours and give you guys a chance to voice your opinions. And we really appreciate all views are welcome here, of course. So thank you for doing that. And we're out of here. So we'll see everybody bright and early on Friday morning, 6 a.m. See you then.